Steven Crowder has just dropped a bombshell accusing conservative broadcast companies of being in bed with big tech. We're going to take a look at this stunning accusation. We're going to see the response from one of those companies, and make sure to stick them to the very end of this video because we're going to find out exactly what's really going on here. You are not going to want to miss this. Steven Crowder, fresh from leaving The Blaze, dropped a bombshell in his program, threatening to release a list of phony brand name conservatives who he said are in cahoots with big tech.
Big tech is in bed with big con. The people you thought, the people I thought were fighting for you, a lot of it has been a big con. Now, I'm specifically avoiding naming names or going after individuals in this video because I genuinely hope that those I'm addressing, and you know who you are, have a change of heart. Don't sign these contracts. I now know what you are signing out there. I have the luxury of not having to. Let me go through this. If any of the major platforms issues a content strike such that Crowder cannot be monetized on such platform, the fee will be reduced by 25%. And then another 20% of it happens on Apple. And then another 10% of it happens on Facebook. And then another 10% of it happens on Spotify. And then if you get a strike, meaning a suspension, another 20%. Just to drive it home, you get hit by a car, you have a sick day, you could lose $100,000 a day. This is what's sent out to everybody.
So as you can see, there's Steve Crowder's accusing one of the major companies and what he's calling Con Inc. of basically accommodating and conceding to the very cancel culture that seeks to silence conservatives and conservative voices. Well, we didn't have to wait long before the company that he indirectly accused spoke up, and that was, of course, the Daily Wire. Just hours ago, the Daily Wire released their response. Jeremy Boring, co-CEO of the Daily Wire, uploaded a 50-minute video admitting that Crowder was, at least in part, talking about the Daily Wire and the contract or the term sheet that they offered him. It was certainly a generous offer, $50 million for 4 years. That works out to $1 million a month. Perhaps Crowder could do better than that if he were just on his own. I mean, remember Rush Limbaugh, my hero. He was signing contracts giving him $50 million a year. He at one point signed a $400 million 8-year contract. But of course, that was Rush. There'll never be another one like him, God bless him. And in fairness, Jeremy Boring, the co-CEO of Daily Wire, obviously took serious issue with Crowder and how he portrayed the situation. He made it clear that if Crowder didn't like something on the contract, then they could redline it, they could negotiate it. I mean, what's the problem, right? And also Boring took issue with how Crowder was portraying himself in all of this.
Point, Stephen, again, I think the most entertaining, talented person in the conservative movement. I think one of the most entertaining and talented people in entertainment generally in the country today has created a very successful content generation company, a very successful production company. But Stephen's never had to create the company that actually distributes, markets, and monetizes all of that content. He talks in his video about being one of the only true independent conservative voices. And I find that incredibly offensive. Stephen, the whole time I've known him, has worked for someone else, has been paid by someone else. That doesn't mean other people tell him what to say. He's a very independent voice, and that's good. So is Matt Walsh. So is Candace Owens. So is Ben Shapiro. So is Michael Knowles. So is Brett Cooper. But Stephen, as much or more than any of them, a very independent voice. But he's not exactly a self-made man. That's not true. He was paid by PJTV when I met him, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by CRTV for a number of years, which was owned by a billionaire at the time. Then he was paid by The Blaze, which was subsidized by a billionaire, until Tyler Cardon, one of the real genius businessmen in our movement, turned the company around and made it profitable. During all of that time, Stephen drove a ton of revenue. He's incredibly valuable. I'm not suggesting that he wasn't driving value. He was. I'm only saying he didn't have to build all of that. He didn't have to think about it. And he didn't necessarily have to be profitable. And he doesn't know for a fact that he was profitable because, as he has said very publicly, all those companies, none of them really shared all the information about what was happening with them. So Stephen feels very certain that his show was always profitable. but he doesn't know that his show was profitable.
So what sense should we be making out of all of this? Is Steven Crowder right? Is the Daily Wire and Con Inc. in bed with big tech? Or is Steven Crowder simply ignorant of how the business side of broadcasting works? And is he presenting himself with a content independence that he never really had? Gang, you have got to try an amazing American-made product that's sweeping the nation. You may have seen ads for them during the recent string of Trump rallies. They're getting rave reviews on True Social. It's an amazing South Dakota company called Old Country Soap. They use traditional Amish techniques and locally sourced ingredients to make the best natural soaps out there. Every bar of Old Country Soap includes pure and unfiltered bentonite clay, which works wonders for dry and sensitive skin. Absolutely amazing stuff, gang. I use it every single day. And they have a wonderful Valentine's Day special for our audience. Click on that link below and get 25% off your purchase if you use my promo code Turley. These soaps will make an amazing Valentine's Day gift for your loved ones, but make sure to get them before they run out. Click on that link below or visit oldcountrysoap.com. Get 25% off with promo code Turley. Your loved ones will love you for this. I think there are two main dynamics happening here that will help us interpret what's going on. First and foremost, this is most obviously a controversy over the character and makeup of alt media. And alt media is part of a much larger split in our economy where our nation is forging what scholars call parallel economies. And what we're finding is that the economies are more and more shaping around two diametrically opposed partisan beliefs and loyalties. What some scholars are calling red state economies and blue state economies. You'll know notice the emphasis by Steven Crowder in the Daily Wire on the importance of independence, right? And being an independent voice. That's a reference to their fidelity to this mass decoupling of the two economies away from each other. We as consumers in a red state economy, right, as it were, a parallel economy, we don't want the leftovers from the legacy media that has so thoroughly aligned itself with the woke corporate blue state economy. We want nothing to do with it. We want political analysis and commentary that's independent, that's reflective of our conservative values, precisely because we believe those conservative values are reflective of reality. Those infected with the woke mind virus, like the legacy media, have taken leave of their senses. And we want analysis that's far more clear-headed and precise. And for that, we have to literally go to a parallel economy. We have to go to alt media sources, a parallel press, as it were, to better understand what's going on in our world. So, with that dynamic in place, you can see Crowder's concern. What the hell is the point of going over to a supposedly alternative media outlet that's supposed to be part of this burgeoning red state economy if all it does is work in conjunction with the big tech oligarchs thoroughly embedded in blue state media? Crowder, it seems to me, is very concerned that that line of demarcation, that decoupling between the two economies based on fundamentally two antithetical worldviews, is being blurred by the Daily Wire. So why would he think that? Why is Steven so concerned about the Daily Wire basically betraying its viewers? Well, the answer to that is found in the second dynamic of what's going on. And that dynamic, in effect, is what's pulling these two economies apart, and it's known as consumer politics. Consumer politics involves customers intentionally buying from companies that promote and support their political and cultural values, all the while, at the same time, refusing to purchase from those companies that actively oppose and offend those political and cultural values. And so consumer politics involves what are called boycotts and boycotts. So boycotts are obviously refusal to purchase from companies that offend our political and cultural values. But boycotts are intentional purchases from companies that support our political and cultural values. Now, I bring up consumer politics here precisely because consumer politics is at the heart of cancel culture. We've all seen with our own eyes how corporations so quickly and easily buckle under the pressure from far left activists. Remember, we went through this ourselves with the premiere of our movie, The Return of the American Patriot. We had 2 venues cancel on us out of pressure from a bunch of woke leftist agitators. The fuel that drives cancel culture is consumer politics, particularly the boycott side of things. And to fully close this loop, scholars are in wide agreement that the parallel economy that's rising comes straight out of cancel culture, particularly with the banning of President Trump from Twitter and Facebook back in 2021, and with the banning of Parler and AWS and the Apple app and Google Play Store, and the banning of prominent conservatives from Shopify and PayPal and the like. That was the catalyst for, one, a massive exodus of users away from traditional big tech, and two, a slew of investors pumping money into new tech like Rumble and Truth Social, with an entire parallel economy emerging around it. So those are your two dynamics that are operative here. The rise of a parallel economy, right? Or economies, a red state economy, blue state economy, that's being fueled by consumer politics that deliberately boycotts and boycotts in accordance with our economic and political values, which is at the heart of cancel culture, which caused the rise of the parallel economy in the first place. So that's how it all loops together. And so in the midst of all that, Steven Crowder is very concerned that the Daily Wire, in the end, is making concessions to cancel culture. In penalizing content creators for getting demonetized, the Daily Wire is, in effect, accommodating the very cancel culture that gave rise to alternative broadcast companies like the Daily Wire in the first place. They have become what they were supposed to replace. That's, in effect, as I understand it, Steven Crowder's argument. And we're going to have to see how it all fleshes out. There's pros and cons on both sides. Obviously, Daily Wire disagrees. But regardless, make no mistake, these two dynamics, a parallel economy and consumer politics, they're going to keep resurfacing throughout this whole controversy. I, for one, have to say, ironically, I think this is an indicator of our success. When you have public disputes like this, it's a sign that the parallel media, the alt media, is growing by leaps and bounds. When contracts of $50 million are turned down as insulting and capitulating, and both sides going at it, it's a sign that we've arrived. In just a few short years, the parallel economy is utterly massive and promises to grow beyond our wildest dreams. Let's hope everything gets sorted out here. We are the future. The parallel economy is the future. And it is certainly time to leave the sordid legacy media behind. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on how Biden just got caught red-handed, and there's absolutely no way out for him. You're going to love it. So make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.